How you going? So my previous Dragon's Dogma 2 video about overlooked mechanics and secrets did really well. If you haven't seen it, check it out right here. And here's 10 more Dragon's Dogma 2 overlooked mechanics and details the game doesn't tell you about. As always, if there's something you'd want to add, leave me a comment. And also I'm planning to cover every Dragon's Dogma 2 update that comes out in the future. So if you don't want to miss that, give me a sub now. Thank you very much. So, number 10. Every new game iteration has unique, different berries. In Dragon's Dogma 2, you can come across berry bushes. In my current game, I've got cranberries, but there are also raspberries, strawberries, and blueberries. It's a minor detail, but there's actually more to it. By combining ripened versions of different berries, you get Nomad's dried fruit. That restores 500 health, and by combining that with green warish, you get fine fruit roborant. It's not a unique item, it can be found in chests and dropped by enemies, but still, it's pretty rare. So sending other players berries when you dismiss their pawns is actually not the worst gift. Also, every time you start a new game, there's a chance you'll get different berries, so it's worth stockpiling berries in your current world to later make more potent curatives. Number 9. Hidden pawn affinity mechanic. A lot of people know it already, but when going through the comment section of the Reddit post I made, which essentially was a text version of my previous video, I realized that some people missed it. So yeah, you can make your pawn quote-unquote fall in love with you. Every single NPC in Dragon's Dogma 2 has affinity stat, and the higher it is, the more friendly they become towards you, and with high enough affinity, they even start sending you various gifts. On top of that, some of them start following you around, smiling and blushing. So you can reach high affinity with your pawn as well. They also start smiling and blushing, and it even unlocks a few unique dialogue lines. And on top of that, if you have high enough affinity with your pawn, you get a slightly different ending cutscene. It's pretty cool, I don't want to spoil it too much, but also don't get your hopes up because it's really just slightly different. Anyways, here's some information I got by using the affinity bar mod. You start with 0 affinity with your pawn, 1000 is the max value. To reach the quote-unquote love state, you need to have 625, and pretty much every interaction with your pawn gives you a few points. High-fiving is +5, small talk is +2, bringing them to hot springs gives you around 15 points, and changing their appearance gives you 50. Also note that by changing appearance, I don't mean drastically changing anything. You can pretty much move a scar 1 inch to the left and it will count. The only action that lowers the affinity is when your pawn dies, as in becomes forfeit. Also keep in mind that there's a 10 or something minutes cooldown for every action, and this needs to be fact checked by the way. Some people say that there is a 200 points cap until you do a quest. I will keep experimenting with it and let you know if I discover something new. Number 8. In my previous video I mentioned that you can buy rounds at a pub to increase everyone's affinity with you. So apparently it's 100% more effective if you get Charming or a Blessing from Dragonforged beforehand. So again, with the affinity bar mod installed, we can see that when buying rounds the regular way, everyone gets around 30 affinity points, but when you do it with Charming Aura active, everyone gets 60 or something. So the affinity mechanic in Dragon's Dogma 2 is janky and sometimes inconsistent. Sometimes you get like 28 points for buying drinks, sometimes it's 31, but Charming Aura doubles whatever the amount is. You can also carry the NPC you need high affinity with inside the pub to get an affinity boost with them. Again, this one's very helpful if you're working on the Philanthropist achievement. Number 7. You can get out of grab attacks by mashing the dash button. This is a minor thing, but still it's worth mentioning because it seems that some people still don't know about it. Whenever you are grabbed by a wolf or an ogre, you don't have to solely rely on your pawns to help you out. You can simply mash the dash button to get out of it. As some of you know, by default your dash button is the same button you use to interact with stuff, gather stuff, which is abysmal, but luckily it can be remapped. For the sake of this video I brought it back just to demonstrate that getting out of grabs actually works. Number 6. You can spear slam and tackle NPCs. A lot of people probably know that already, but I want to mention it here anyways because it took me like 200 hours to learn that you can tackle enemies in Dragon's Dogma 2. And not just enemies, essentially anyone small enough for you to grab and carry. So when you grab an enemy, you can sprint into a wall or a tree to get this badass spear slam animation. It looks very cinematic. Also, pressing the grab button when jumping on somebody results in a tackle. It's very cool that the hit animation during the tackle is different depending on your equipped weapon. Number 5. Sorcerer's spell synchronization. This mechanic was in the original Dragon's Dogma. It's cool to see it appear in Dragon's Dogma 2. To make it work, obviously you have to be a sorcerer and have a sorcerer pawn in your party. Basically, you can cast spells quicker and deal more damage if you cast them in unison with your pawn. You can see it on the screen right now as we cast Thundermine at the same time. Successful spell sync is indicated by additional visual effects, and there's also a unique line of dialogue you can hear from your pawn. Sounds like this.
We'll overwhelm our foe with our combined magics.
Spell sync is especially useful when casting maester spells like Maelstrom because you can't use quick spell with them. Bottom line is, spell sync can be a bit finicky, it requires some practice, but it also can be very useful. Basically, when you see your sorcerer pawn casting something, come up close to them, start casting the same spell and see the results for yourself. And before we continue, I'd like to give a quick shout out to The Rift. It's an amazing channel that I watch for quite a long time, and like 90% of their content is Dragon's Dogma related. Not just Dragon's Dogma 2, Dark Arisen as well, and Dragon's Dogma Online. The reason why I'm talking about it is because they're currently trying to create new vocations for Dragon's Dogma 2 with the help of mods, like the Mystic Knight from Dragon's Dogma 1, the Monk, the Beast Summoner. I think it's a sick project and it deserves all the attention. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And if you're a console player or don't really care about mods, go check the Rift out anyways. You'll find tons of useful information over there. Give them a sub, give me a sub too. Cheers, back to the video now. Number 4, skeletons can open barred doors for you. It's not a mechanic that was purposefully put in the game, it's just a bunch of systems working together, but still, it's a little trick that I'd like to share. So during your travels, you sometimes come across barred doors that can only be opened from the other side. There are multiple ways to open them, some of them are stupidly ridiculous, like casting meteor on spell or something, but the intended way to open them, of course, is to find the way to the other side. Though you also can camp until nighttime and come back there, sometimes skeletons spawn on the other side and break through the door to get to you. Number 3, this one's not a mechanic, just a cool detail. Talus's fight is skippable, and by skipping it and letting the guards deal with it, you get 2 more bosses to fight in the endgame. So the Talus sequence can be pretty interesting the first time around with all the sense of urgency, but I'd say doing it for the second time in New Game Plus feels like a wasted time. So instead of rushing towards it, you can actually just keep minding your business far away across the map. At some point a cutscene will play showing the guards defeating the Gigantus. And like I said earlier, if you skip the sequence, you get 2 more beacons on the map in the unmoored world, hence 2 more boss fights, hence more worm life crystals. Number 2, this one's kinda goofy, but I think it might help somebody at some point. If you eat after you sleep, you get the food bonus for a longer period of time. Okay, look, just hear me out. For some reason we have our brains hotwired to eat first and then go to sleep. Even your pawns talk about it when you camp. So you cook a meal, then go to sleep and skip time, basically making the buff you get from eating food last less. If you go to sleep first and then camp again to eat, you get the buff that lasts longer. It just never occurred to me that you can camp, eat, and continue on your way without sleeping just to get the buff. To do that, you can simply walk out of your camp boundaries. The game will ask you if you want to break camp. And finally, number 1, visiting hot springs removes scars and dirt. Actually, every interaction with water, like standing in the rain or splashing by the beach, removes the dirt that you apply in the character creator. So it's pretty obvious that visiting hot springs removes it as well, but it's pretty cool that by soaking in, you can also get rid of all the scars your pawn accumulates throughout your journey. And of course, I'm not talking about scars you can manually add in the character creator. Every time your pawn becomes forfeit, there is a chance for them to get a new scar on a random spot of their body. They even have a dialogue line regarding their scars. They can look pretty badass with scars, and the fact that, you know, they accumulate new ones is pretty sick, but if you want to get rid of them, to the hot springs you shall go. I also have a bonus for you. You can one-shot a Medusa and get preserved Medusa head if you play as a Warfarer. To do that, you need to have Magic Archer's Soporific Bolt skill equipped and any thief weapon. Shoot the Medusa with soporific bolt, wait for it to fall asleep, and then do a regular heavy attack on its head. Done. You're amazing. Doing this unlocks an achievement, and you can also come back to the lair later with the head to get another achievement. And that's pretty much it for today. Leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and subscribe for more Dragon's Dogma 2 content. Thanks for watching. See ya.